How's it going, everybody? I'm Lewis, and we've got the Broken Armour and Open Beta update from the old school RuneScape team. This update has quite a few things, mostly encompassing a few changes to the wilderness, including the long-awaited untradeable update, and them opening up the Last Man Standing beta to everybody. So let's get straight into this update by having a look at breaking untradables. Previously, when you used untradable equipment in the wilderness, you had very little risk. If you died and you were wearing untradable items, they would drop to the floor and you could easily run back and pick them up. And if you killed someone that was wearing untradable items, you get no reward for it, which seems rather unfair, especially when we know that so many of the untradable items are incredibly powerful. With this update, this is all going to change. If you die with untradable equipment on to another player in the wilderness, you'll be able to run back and get that equipment. However, it's going to be in a broken state. And these broken items can't be used or traded. They're kind of just a bit of a waste of space. However, you can repair these items by choosing the repair option on the item. This will cost a certain amount of money, and the amount of money will vary for each item. These seem to range from sort of 10, 20k, all the way up to 100k, depending on the use of the item and the tier of it. But obviously this is just a fraction of what it would cost in time and money for you to get these items back again from the mini-games and such that you originally get them from. And once it's repaired, you will go back to its original state and you can use it again like you did before it was broken. If you happen to kill a player who's wearing untradable items, you will receive 75% of the repair cost for their untradable items. This means that killing players who are using untradable items is quite rewarding now, and it will add a little bit of risk for players using the untradable items, which hopefully will improve the entire PvP experience you get when you're fighting in the wilderness. A side note to this is that in level 20 plus wilderness, the untradable items will still be converted to coins. There's no changes to the way that that's happening. This entire untradable item thing is happening to the wilderness and all of it. Just before I move on, after I recorded this segment, there was a section I noticed about the untradable items only being able to be fixed from Purdue or armor stands, which I believe are the player-owned house armor stands. Obviously you'll still have to pay the money to repair them, however I don't think you can just do it wherever you're standing from your inventory. Next, we're taking a look at the Last Man Standing open beta. Last week they opened the Last Man Standing beta to about 2,000 players, and they have got a fair amount of feedback on it. One of the big concerns that many players had was the fact that it was multi-way combat everywhere, and that could result in people teaming up and you end up with what some people could refer to as clan man mode. As a test, they're going to try out single combat this weekend, and they're also going to implement a PJ timer for that. Because when you kill someone, you don't want to get immediately pounced on, you'd like a little bit of a chance to run away, maybe heal up, maybe even change your gear. As well as that, they've introduced vending shrines. Vending shrines are small shops, as it were, where you can spend tokens to get pieces of equipment. For example, here we can see there's food, potions, teleports, spells, and even armor and weapons in this vending shrine. This should mean that whenever you kill something or find something, you can get yourself some tokens and actually be able to trade it in for something useful. They're also looking at fairer looting in spawns. When you loot a chest, there's now a small delay. This means the first player to get to a chest won't be able to loot the entire thing immediately and screw over all the other players. This should make, especially at the start of the game, it a lot fairer and everyone should pretty much be on the same level. As well as that, spawning into Last Man Standing will no longer place you on the same area as everyone. They've made it so when you spawn into the game, you're much more spread out, which is a much nicer way of going about it. One thing I quite like about that is the fact that you won't necessarily see where everyone's going at the start of the map. So there'll be a lot of mystery in finding out where players are, if you're going to be attacked, and I think that'll really help ramp up the game mode. The next addition is the Bloody Key. Killing a player in Last Man Standing will now give you a Bloody Key. These can be used to re-loot containers that have already been looted. When you do this, you'll have a higher likelihood of receiving food and potions because obviously you've just been in a fight and you might have lower stats, lower health, etc. Another thing they've looked at in Last Man Standing is prayer. Obviously prayer throughout all of old school RuneScape is incredibly valuable, and in a PvP minigame, of course, people are going to be using it. In order to prevent people who get lots of prayer potions from completely dominating the game, everyone is going to start with 10 prayer points. Meaning that hopefully more people will be looking for prayer potions and trying to utilize that, which will give them a better advantage and make the game a lot more interesting. The final change is the monster spawns. At 4 minutes, 6 minutes and 8 minutes, monsters will spawn at random locations. If you kill these monsters, you will receive food as a drop, which is an interesting mechanic, and I'm glad they're testing it in the beta and not the actual game when it comes out. It could work out really well, however I'm a little bit skeptical about it. I think potentially people could just get completely distracted by these monsters. But then again, I suppose it depends how much of a level these monsters have. If they're kind of like goblins, which are really easy to kill, then obviously I don't really see the point. Whereas if they're like bosses, then you might as well get all the players in the minigame to fight that boss, because it will become more of a team game to kill that. So we'll have to see how that goes. If you would like to test all of these new features and give feedback about Last Man Standing to the Old School RuneScape team, the beta for this is now open to all players. This update specified that it was for members only. However, the next day, there was a free-to-play beta announcement. World 317 is the members version, and World 321 is the free-to-play version. The main difference between the free-to-play and the members version is the fact that the free-to-play version can't use competitive mode, and there won't be all of the high-end equipment in-game. There will actually be a few members items available to free-to-play players, however they're not going to be the top-tier weapons, and they won't be able to use the special attacks. Moving on to the Woodcutting Guild Shrine. There's now a shrine in the shape of a massive bird's nest at the Woodcutting Guild. You can use your bird nest eggs with this shrine to get seed nests and small amounts of prayer experience. Along with that, something they've not mentioned before, and I'm somewhat angry they didn't mention this before, when you sacrifice the eggs at the shrine, there's going to be a slim chance that you can receive parts of an evil chicken outfit. This evil chicken outfit will be tradable to other players, so if you don't get the pieces quickly, then if you like, you could buy it off other people. Next, temple trekking reward choices. You can now choose which reward you receive from temple trekking, as opposed to it being random. This allows many players to choose if they want silver bars, coal and iron, XP tomes, anything really. As well as this, if you want to claim your rewards, you can do it direct from the token without actually having to hand them in. So right now is quite a good time to try out temple trekking. Personally, I've never done it, so maybe I can try and get myself some experience and rewards from there. Next, the Elder Chaos Robes. The Elder Chaos Druids, which I believe are about level 135 in the Chaos Altar in the Wilderness, now have a slim chance of dropping Elder Chaos Robes. These don't require any defense level to equip, which makes them the best in slot for 1 defense pures, requiring level 40 magic to equip. I'm hoping that in the pure community these will become quite valuable and plenty of people will want them and they'll have a decent price on the market. The last big update we've got this week is the Bounty Hunter features. First of all, risk. Previously, the skull above a player's head would show how much money you're risking based on AUK values. However, from now, the skull that shows how much money you're risking is based on grand exchange value. This means the value that you see in a skull is much more accurate and you can get a much better representation of, if you kill that player, how much money you're going to get. The other Bounty Hunter feature is the Skipping Targets feature. There's a small icon in the Bounty Hunter overlay which players can use to skip their target. Just click the double green arrow and it will go on to the next target you would like. This applies all the same restrictions as it had before when you would have to log out and log back in to skip a target. However, it's just a much easier way of doing it. Finally, in other news, stash units are now listed in the construction skill guide. The Ancient Cavern stash unit has been moved to a better location. The stash unit in the Watchtower will now store the Bull Roarer. Obsidian weapons have been added to the in-game skill guides. It's now possible to store the female variants of the pink and gold elegant clothes in your player-owned house treasure chests. Arclight will now damage vampires in the same way that Darklight and Silverlight do. Which is interesting because I wouldn't imagine vampires being classified as demons. Using a canoe on a free-to-play world will now display the cutscene displayed in members worlds. The Tith farming minigame teleport can now be used outside of Zaya. Players who have completed the Elite Wilderness Diary can now toggle whether or not Lava Dragon bones will drop in noted form by talking to the Diary Master. This allows players to take advantage of the new boost for the Lava Dragon bones on Lava Dragon Isle. The Geomancy spell will now show the correct yield from the Belladonna patch. Stash units can no longer be interacted with on non-members' worlds. You can no longer enter a wall in the Monkey Madness 2 cavern. They've corrected some grammar in the Wanted quest journal. They've corrected some spelling in dialogue with Lafubu. They fixed an issue where health bars would not always display correctly. You can no longer open treasure trail caskets in the King Black Dragon's instant. Worlds 376 and 321 are no longer Dead Man Mode season worlds. Obviously we discussed 321 being a last man standing base world, and 376 is being reverted to a standard old school RuneScape world. Broken versions of untradeable items now have higher values, so they won't be deleted from the ground if more valuable items are in the area. And they've corrected the herbs shown on the temple tracking rewards interface. So a fairly large update now. Obviously we've got information from both Thursday and Friday fixed a few things from Thursday. But the main things we need to know is the fact that we've got the untradeable item update, we've got an open last man standing beta for all players, as well as plenty of features coming from the most recent content polls. I think these are just great. Hopefully it's going to revamp these minigames and the wilderness with people using untradeable items. If you want to watch my video on last week's update, please click here for hidey holes and mini quests. And if you want to watch my video on the latest old school RuneScape developer vlog, please click here for raid rewards too. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and share, and if you want to keep up to date with the old school RuneScape updates, dev blogs and polls, please subscribe. I've been Lewis, thanks for watching, goodbye.